I can't believe, ladies and gentlemen, what I am eyewitnessing in all my years of covering the World Wrestling Federation. Kurt Hennig, it is one thing for Hulk Hogan to lose by virtue of a countout to the Genius. It's another thing for you to desecrate the very meaning of Hulkamania.
This has never been a perfect belt, and Hulk Hogan, you're not a perfect champion. And I'll follow you around to every arena if I have to, and I'll destroy every belt until you give me a title shot the perfect way.
Genius, you seem to be in a very good mood. I can't believe it.
I have suddenly developed the most inexplicable feeling of happiness. Not only have I desecrated Hulkamania in the ring, but we return to the locker room, and you know what we're doing? We're desecrating Hulkamania right here on the dressing room floor. And you know what? We are simply exercising our right to a First Amendment. Thomas Jefferson, I hope you're rolling over in your grave.
Oh, that's hogwash. I don't believe that for a minute.
These are the pieces that are left of Hulkamania. And you remember this, Hulk Hogan. I am Mr. Perfect, and I'm the man who deserves a title shot. And until you give me that title shot, Hulk Hogan, I will destroy every belt. I don't care if you have 100 made. I am Mr. Perfect, and this belt will only be perfect when it's around my way.
I can't believe it, Vince. Back to you. I'm holding here what remains of the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship belt, desecrated earlier by Mr. Perfect and condoned by his advisor, the Genius. I've never eyewitnessed anything quite like this. I don't know what
I've already heard. The thing that's eaten me alive, Mean Gene, is the fact that the Genius got his hand raised in victory over me and all my Hulkamaniacs. But you, Mr. Perfect, you cut me to the bone, man. You're burning my soul alive. You spit in Hulkamania's face and tried to desecrate everything we stand for. You can't ruin Hulkamania by symbolically destroying a materialistic belt that stands for everything we believe in. We turn negatives into positives, Mr. Perfect. Millions of Hulkamaniacs will unite. The 3 Demandments are still intact. And with the Hulkster leading the brigade, the only thing left for you, Mr. Perfect, is not perfection, but the ultimate encounter with Hulk Hogan equals the perfect defeat for you.
The PWR presents What If? What if John Cena turned heel? What if China became the first woman world heavyweight champion? What if Owen Hart never passed away? What if Magnum TA never got into a car crash? What if Hulk Hogan stayed with the AWA? What if Shawn Michaels signed with WCW? What if WCW won the Monday Night Wars? What if Vince McMahon's WrestleMania failed? What if?
You haven't heard that laugh in a while, Reflectionites. What is going on there to the Vitoites? What is going on to the PWCites? And what is going on to the 158 subscribers on the Professor's YouTube channel? Been away for a while, so you know what? When you get new subscribers, you gotta keep drumming out the content. Content every week. I know the game on YouTube, but you know what? We're gonna inch it closer and closer to 200. Again, I'm not trying to be like Mr. Beast with 35 million. I'm not trying to be like Logan Paul with 10 or 20 million subscribers. I'm not paying for shit. I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. Plugging in one subscriber at a time. That's the evilness of the professor right there, because he's going to do it the right way. He's going to do it the honest way. Not like all these fucking YouTube content creators who uses bots. That's even worse than illegal voting. But anyway, neither here nor there. So welcome to the PWR at the HAMIN Media Group at podbean.com. And welcome to the most popular series here on the PWR podcast. It is a very special What If edition. And before we get into that What If edition, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I must introduce myself so I can get the grays out of my hair and the grays out of my nose and the grays out of my chin. And it's been a while because I had to edify the masses. No, I didn't go to Epstein's Island on the West Coast, but it was an island. It was full of women over 21. So the edification went masterfully. The edification went beautifully. But most importantly, the edification went gloriously. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry, the only objective man in this Twitterverse, the only objective man in this social media conundrum. And might I say, I come back and Dave Meltzer gives the Meltzer Awards worst commentator to Booker T? What the hell was Uncle Dave, what the hell were you smoking? You blocked me on Twitter, so I'm going to say this. So this way someone can share this to Uncle Dave. The man that has made NXT entertaining has been Booker T. The man who made Stephanie McCurr a household name was Booker T because he loved the double kiss. A man that's made Joe Hendry more of a household name because he sings his fucking theme song is Booker T. And the man who has a hard-on for all the NXT women on the NXT women's roster and making them household names is Booker T. And if you can't enjoy a Booker T commentary on NXT for 2 hours every Tuesday night on the CW, something is wrong with you. But I am the Professor Chabela Cruz, and I'm not here alone. No. I'm here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, the solo idiot, Dr. Frickenstein. And I haven't said this in a while, and I missed it so much. The undisputed, undeniable, Detroit Rock City, Universal Heavy... You ain't pulling down your pants. Oh, thank God. Universal Heavyweight Champion of the World. I wonder how you doing, my friend.
Tired as always, man. This damn puppy. And I'd have been down here 5 minutes sooner, but as soon as I walked out of my room, the puppy shit on the floor. Not on a pad, on the floor.
Well, puppies got to mark their territory. You know how it works.
This is my last puppy. Next time, if I ever get another dog, it'll be a rescue that already knows how to shit.
What do you mean? It's not going to be your last puppy. I bet you...
It's my first puppy.
I bet you within... And you're going to bookmark this, TW.
Right.
In a year's time, you will have another puppy.
You just killing Jack off? Is that what you're doing?
No, you're going to add
3 dogs. I'm never going to have 3 dogs, motherfucker.
Tony.
How do you know if that's allowed?
Tony, you heard this from the professor, and Tony will manifest it.
She has the dog.
Right. But you will have another
bigger
dog.
than my dog's going to be.
Well, I'm just saying, is in a year's time, you will have a third dog.
No,
and you're going to have a circus. But anyway, neither here nor there. So, you know what? It's been a while, TW. I haven't seen you in so long. Again, I was edified in the West Coast. You know, you looked a little younger. I thought you were going to do the Just for Men on your beard. So, you know, you were going to get the black. You said
so I just shaved this, like, when I got home. But see right here? I'm going to grow a skullet and have it come out the back like this. And I'm just going to wear a hat all the time. And I'm going to dye it.
Is that your new way of party in the front and business in the back, or
it's the other way around. It's business in the front, party in the back. Mine's going to be Father Time in the front, juvenile delinquent in the back. So mine's.
Gotcha. Whatever works for you, man. So you know, as long as Tony loves it. So let's get on.
I don't know if she's going to love it, but I'm going to love it.
Well, you know,
I'm going to put steps on the side here. It's going to be like 90s, late 80s, early 90s hockey.
You know what you do first? You know, get a AI app. What is that? Biggs Barbecue?
So
is that,
seeds.
yeah, of course. You're gonna spit a lot. You've been spitting every fucking episode for the last month.
My buddy Damon, who I told him he doesn't have to watch the videos, he just has to subscribe. Not only does he watch it, Perfecy Professor? The hell does that mean?
Perfecy? Oh yeah. Oh, we're supposed to say perfect professor.
I know. I knew it was a typo. But he goes, dude, what's the name of that podcast or that YouTube page? That's not. I go, it's his page. He took his page and made it the show page. I said, it's not my page. He doesn't understand this. But he has complained to me 2 episodes. Dude, lay off the sunflower seeds. So
thank you. I'm clapping. What's his name again? Let me shout him out.
Damon. He's
Damon.
In your secret society, they call him Gaiman, is what they call him.
No. Damon is a Reflectionite through and through. Welcome to the Reflectionite family, Damon. And your request has been made, has been noted, and it's up to TW to honor that request. But again, Damon already knows that I've already been pissed that TW keeps spitting during an episode, keeps spitting during recordings. I'm not saying he doesn't have to eat sunflower seeds reflection. That's all I'm just saying is when he speaks, stop spitting.
I was talking?
Yes. That's what you kept doing.
I didn't know. I thought it was just a noise.
Now, if you spit while I'm talking, that's different. Right. You're waiting to be. You see, it works. Damon, you are a trooper. You are a visionary, and I salute you. But anyway, let's get on with this show, TW. So, again, it was an edification on the West Coast. So, I thought of certain
Diddy party, right? You went to the secret Diddy party.
You know what the funny thing is? People always say a Diddy party or Epstein party or whatever it is. Just because they're out of the way doesn't mean somebody else hasn't taken the mantle. That's all I'm going to say for the conspiracy.
Right. Is he still in jail or is he out?
Who?
Diddy.
No, he's still in jail.
How long did he get?
4 years.
Damn. But time served, he's got like 2 already, right?
I don't know how the time served is working, but it's supposed to be 4 years. Maybe with time served, it'll be cut in half. But who knows? Right. But,
Are you still writing them letters?
I don't have to write them letters. I'm just saying. You getting 4 years for loving booty, that's on him. But then whatever, neither here nor there. But anyway, TW, let's get on with the show. Let's get on with the most popular series of the PWR archives, if you will, Reflectionites. And TW, did you notice I fixed what you corrected me? So it works.
Oh, perfect. Yep.
There you go. I have to be absolutely perfect. And speaking of being absolutely perfect, as the professor is 9 out of 10 times. We must talk about a what-if scenario, TW, that every IWC, YWC, PWC pundit has actually questioned. And TW, you yourself have said this statement a lot in our fandom, in our history of doing the PWR podcast. You've always said that one of the most tragic things that hasn't happened in WWE lore, in WWE history, is why the hell hasn't Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig ever had the WWE championship? It was a travesty, it was an injustice, and all that stuff. So we're going to right a wrong here on the PWR. So we're going to do this the right way, TW. What if Mr. Perfect had a run with the WWE championship? And TW, I still have to say this because logistically it's still correct. Mr. Perfect was a heavyweight champion of the world. He had a year run in 1987 to 1988, TW, even though TW sometimes doesn't want to acknowledge the history. But Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig was the AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He wasn't Mr. Perfect, but he was cool Kurt Hennig. So, and he's holding, and you have the action figure of the AWA World Championship.
I recognize the AWA. That's the oldest world championship next to the NWA World Championship.
All I'm just saying is sometimes you have this funny history about, people being territorial champions, but neither here nor there. But
the AWA was defended around the world. That's the only reason I call AEW's world title a world title.
Oh, Jesus. But ECW was
Canada.
ECW defended the title in Japan, but you didn't want to count that. But you said it was a Philadelphia title. But again,
ECW. Well, that was also a bingo hall in there. It's just a side move. That's not a real world title.
Well, I'm just saying AWA did high school shows. But anyway, let's talk about the man, the myth himself, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. And TW, before we even try to fantasy book maybe a year, maybe a 2-year run as a WWF champion, what say you about this man's legacy? Because again, every year in the 80s, we saw the maturation. We saw the evolution, if you will, TW, of Kurt Hennig becoming what he should have been. He was the second generation wrestler to Larry the Axe Hennig. He had to earn his stripes. It wasn't given to him. And being Larry the Axe Hennig's son, he had to prove a lot. He went around the world. He went to all the territories. He got his ass kicked in the WWF in the early 80s. He went up to Portland and then went back to the AWA, got his street cred, had that blood feud against Nick Bockwinkel, and finally he got the big one, if you will. And then, of course, Vince McMahon saw the potential, saw the main event caliber, and then the perfect gimmick was created for this man, the Mr. Perfect gimmick. The vignettes were awesome. The vignettes were amazing. He had hole-in-ones. He bowled perfect strikes. He never missed a foul shot.
He threw himself a 100-yard touchdown pass. I caught it.
That too. He hit home runs blindfolded. All this stuff. It's so funny, but this man was the perfect man to have that gimmick. So what say you about the legacy of Kurt Hennig?
Yeah, was it my guy Terry Taylor recently said he was almost Mr. Perfect, and Brother Love shot that down in a hurry. But just like everything else, there's some animus with Brother Love and the Red Rooster and Bobby Heenan for that matter. But the cool thing I just heard was Vince McMahon, the reason he became Mr. Perfect was because Vince said, "Hey, Kurt, what sports are you good at? So we can go from there." Because either they were going to make him Abe Knuckleball Schwartz or the Goon, who knows? But Perfect's answer, you know what it was?
What?
All of them. That's why Vince called him Mr. Perfect, because he said he was good at all of the sports and made the vignettes. But I got to shout out to Kurt for this, because you just talked about how he toured around, he paid his dues and did everything he had to do before becoming inevitably Mr. Perfect. He had like that Eric Embry, not quite Eddie Gilbert, because Eddie Gilbert wasn't portly, is that how you say it? Like okay. Ethan Embry was portly. He had that small body, like
husky. How about the word husky?
Yeah, but like just tiny and just almost like you could tell he was probably a fat kid in school or whatever, right? Not like Husky Harris, God rest his soul, Bray Wyatt. He probably was just bulky from being athletic and all that. But he, look at the picture behind you. He went from being like, when you get in shape like that, it almost makes you look taller too, right? Because Kurt looked little. He was always next to Scott Hall. When he was with Greg Gagne, he looked like a man. When that dude looked like a little boy. But remember in the early 80s, he had that like Little Rascals haircut. It was
he looked so young and so immature.
And he got it together, man. And when you say the stuff you say about his career, he should have been world champion. My Mount Rushmore is Warrior and Sting, Brett and Shawn, two that I think are the two the best to ever do it, and two that I think are the best characters, Sting and Warrior, as far as like larger than life comic book superhero type guys who Sting could wrestle too. And I'm not going to insult people's intelligence by saying the Warrior was a great wrestler, but he was a great professional wrestler, I can tell you that much. But when I got my little plaques on the wall, the two guys that I got to replace Sting, because Sting's stupid ass left and didn't get a plaque on WWE.com, I have Warrior, I have Brett, I have Shawn, and on one side of them is Lex Luger, and on the other side is Mr. Perfect. Because if I bumped anybody from any spot, from any top four ever, the guy going in their place is the guy behind you right there. He was hands down the best bumper. Shawn is a close number two. And his selling wasn't that Daniel Bryan, Ricky Morton babyface selling. His was heel selling, like Shawn and Flair. But Flair, after a while, when he does the same three things over and over again, it's not as impressive. But I'm going to shout out, because we haven't done this in a while, I got to shout out the modern day Kurt Hennig in that area.
Okay.
And it's Damian Priest. Whenever I see pictures of Damian Priest on the Indies, I literally, from being on the Indies, he's the guy, the look. I don't know how he was as a actual locker room guy. He's the guy who was big and lunky, who would have been putting everybody over. He probably would have been getting not necessarily bullied, but talked down to, because he was in rough shape. And to see him now, and he seems like such a nice guy. And, you know, some guys like, I think I told you, Adam Pearce used to be in the locker rooms in Detroit. Quiet guy, just sat in the corner, nice guy, could wrestle, wasn't a dick. CM Punk came a little bit after him because they're friends. I was done by the time Punk got there. But Damian Priest just seems like an all-around good dude. And I think he's tapping Lola. Is that who he's tapping? Lola Bice?
Lola Bice, yeah.
Yeah, good for him. And my favorite thing about him is his reaction to being called the bisexual Undertaker. When he gets mad about it. Like, what the fuck is that? I'm not even bisexual. But anyways, I just want to say, Kurt, like, a lot of guys, Brett, Kerry Von Erich, Lex, Sting, all these guys came in body guys. And I don't think anyone calls Kurt a body guy. But the dude, if you look at Kurt Hennig and you look at Mr. Perfect, the guy just, I don't want to say reinvented the wheel, but he got it together. He got himself. And
who knows that he might have had some enhancements.
It doesn't matter. Because I can promise you, I know quite a few guys that took the steroids but forgot about the working out part.
Well, I'm not saying I'm just shortchanging. I'm just saying that it might have helped enhance it, but I'm not going to take away his.
He did it. And you know what? If you knew you're going to die at 43 years old of a drug overdose, would you care about steroids in your 20s? Fuck no, you wouldn't.
Fuck no.
Like, I'm going to make these next 20 years the best 20 years of my life. But I just want to shout out to him. I want to shout out to Damian Priest because I think Damian Priest, I feel for him almost because he won that world title by cashing in. Very, very awesome moment. Wasn't it SummerSlam? He cashed in on Drew.
WrestleMania.
Oh, that was WrestleMania. Yeah. Punk caused it, right? He was hurt. Punk was hurt. That's right. And I just feel like he's just been left behind ever since then. And he's young enough that he probably can, you know, come back around from it. But he just doesn't get a lot of credit. And I think Damian Priest, not that he wrestles like perfect or anything like that, but I just think work ethic wise, I think that guy has done a lot and deserves more than he's getting. And I don't mean world title matches. I mean, stop being the incoming feud for guys that are coming back from AEW or on their way out.
Well, we know this, especially speaking for Mr. Perfect, right? If this was 2026 TW, knowing what Raw and SmackDown has 2 world champions on each brand, supposedly, and of course you could add NXT because he could filter all through. Mr. Perfect would have already been in the WWE bubble, one of those champions.
Yeah.
Several times over. So we already know that reflection. So that's an easy thing. But TW, this is why we do what we do. This is why we try to change history of wrestling for the better. Maybe make more money. We got to come up with scenarios that make Mr. Perfect become the WWF or WWE champion, whichever way you want to call it, maybe back in the late 80s and even the early 90s. So, you know, there's many situations that we can pick out with this. So TW, let's look at it from this perspective, if you will. You don't have to book it. I'm just going to ask you this hypothetical. He debuted in the WWF in 1988. He was a solo act. He wasn't managed by nobody. You know, there was no Jimmy Hart by his side, and he was actually 2 years away, if you will, before becoming a member of the Heenan family. So he had a stopgap. He had a solo run himself. Then he had the Heenan family run. Then he had the Ric Flair run, where he was the executive consultant. So we're gonna with Heenan, but you get where I'm going with.
Yeah.
But I'm just giving you
not
those
Heenan
scenarios.
family.
Right. But TW, in your humble opinion, I'm talking about 88 to before he became the Heenan family member in 90. During that stopgap of 88 and 89, respectively, do you see a scenario where Mr. Perfect could have became the heavyweight champion at that time?
Absolutely. Because what I think, we got to give credit where credit's due. And I know a lot of the internet nerds don't want to. You had this dynamic. Atlanta Ric Flair was your champion. Say what you will about it. There was a formula. He made a babyface every year, but he got the belt back by the end of the year and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made them money in Atlanta.
Okay.
What made the WWE money was Hulk Hogan. And as much as we hate the fact that he bogarted that belt for 4 years and then 2 more or whatever it was after that, as much as we hate, I mean, we're grateful that Savage and Warrior even got world title runs because they very easily could have never happened and he could have just stayed champion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason he was champion for so long is because he made money. And the proof of that is by 93, he wasn't making money no more. 92, really. I think that's when Brett beat Flair, right? 92.
Mm-hmm.
They took the belt off Hogan and never looked back. And they tried one more time putting lightning in the bottle. But once business started tanking in 93, you know, they were like, fuck it, let's get rid of these giants and let's go with Brett and Shawn and Flair. And if Perfect wasn't hurt, right there is where he's world champion, right? Like right there, like him over Flair, but you got to make Flair champion. If Flair goes to WWE, no matter that it was a year, if he goes there and never wins a world title, that's an embarrassment, right? You especially since you've already put it on Warrior, Andre, and Macho Man, and for one house show, DiBiase, you got to put it on Flair. But once he's gone, if Kurt Henig's not hurt, he's your world champion. Brett versus Perfect inevitably would be the feud for him as world champion. If Brett wins it from Flair, Brett loses it to Perfect. There's no doubt in my mind if he's not hurt. But in 88, in 89, in 90, when I told you Bernie Smilovich did the Sunday night sports edition, it was called. It was like a 1-hour episode of just sports for the week that was done by the guy who did the 2-minute fucking sports drill every night, right? And he always put a match from either Madison Square Garden, Boston Garden, or one of the Philadelphia Spectrum or whatever, all those famous New York territory buildings. And it was Hogan against Rude, Hogan against Perfect, Hogan against Jake the Snake, Hogan against One Man Gang. Hogan always won. But that's when I saw Perfect toe-to-toe with Hogan. And he did not look little. He looked like if he beat Hogan, it would have been believable, especially if Heenan had some help or Rude or someone helped him. Perfect could have been the guy to beat Hogan for the belt, no matter how it happened. But they didn't do it because Hogan was drawing money and there was no reason to.
Right. Well, again, that's the reality Reflection Nights.
Yeah.
So TW is trying to give some good, perspective on, certain timelines, if you will. So I guess the thing for me, and I'll use the first scenario because, again, I want to do the solo act himself. Like he came in guns a-blazing with all the vignettes, Reflection Nights, the hole-in-ones, the perfect strikes, hitting the free throws, hitting the home runs, throwing a touchdown to himself and all that stuff, and hustling people out of money in the pool table, if you will, TW. You remember all these vignettes. You can't forget them because that's what makes it. So I guess my scenario is like this. You strike while the iron is hot. And at that time, Reflection Nights, who was the champion? Macho Man Randy Savage. Now, if Macho and Hogan was not, let's just say, hogging the spotlight in their feud with the Mega Bucks and Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant, the perfect technical feud, TW, in my humble opinion, even though they probably did it in the house show circuit, would have been Macho Man defending the title against Mr. Perfect.
I agree.
And those would have made money. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated because you know how Vince McMahon always likes to rewrite history or even don't acknowledge history. If you acknowledge he was a heavyweight champion, and he doesn't have to say AWA, but if he acknowledges that he is a former world champion in other places, you're already coming in hot with that technical feud. And TW, and again, we don't have to make it so like, we have to explain to the Reflection Nights how we get to this. But if Mr. Perfect comes in saying, I've been world champion, I've defended titles all over the world, I've sold out buildings in Tokyo, Japan, in Africa, in Europe, and all that stuff, and he comes in and gets in Macho Man's face in the perfect scenario would have been the Brother Love show saying, I want you, and I want that to create the perfect legacy and the perfect champion. TW, what say you? Could you see that scenario playing out? Or do you have
Are
a
you
better
talking
way?
about when he got there?
Right when he got there.
Because they did that for him with Bret. It said Mr. Perfect gunning for Bret Hart, right? Gunning for the Hitman, it said, because the whole pun of the Hitman and the gunning for the Hitman.
Mhm.
And that's what I think. I think that feud, they knew what they had because they put him with Bret immediately. So they should have. But the problem is with your scenario is it's still Hogan, even though Macho Man's the champion.
Mhm.
That entire year he was champion was Hogan helping him win it. Hogan and him feuding with DiBiase and Andre. Then they start feuding with, I can't remember, was it the Twin Towers, the Hakeem, and they do that, and then the rest of the year is Hogan and him setting the tone for the WrestleMania turn to make. So Macho Man's title run was completely overshadowed by Hogan. So there was no room for Perfect and Savage, because all he would have been a feeder fish. They would have threw him in there, and
But
he
I
would have
could
got beat.
But I will retort back, because what this feud could have done was give Macho Man his own like spotlight, if you will.
Yeah.
He didn't need Hulk Hogan to be, at his side, because Perfect was alone. That's what I'm just trying to say. This would have been.
No, I agree. They should have done it, but I'm telling you why they didn't is because they did everything you're saying, other than acknowledging he was a world champion with Bret. And they talked about him being a second generation like Bret. That's why they said he was after Bret. I don't know if they ever said unfinished business between Stu and Larry, but they were implying that these two had heat because of their fathers.
No,
So,
they kind of acknowledged that in '89, like you said, when Bret Hart had kind of like little singular runs here and there. I'm just saying, like, for me, I think the first scenario where maybe you can shock the world, TW, again, the Hogan fatigue. What you said earlier, I cannot dispute. If he was making money, he was making money. But you and I, at this age in 88, 89, 90,
we're done with him.
We were starting with the Hogan fatigue. So what better way of creating not only a new star, but creating new feuds, creating new history with Perfect against Savage in 1988? What better way? And I'll say this, Reflection Heights, I would even do the house show title change where Mr. Perfect wins in Madison Square Garden, and then you see it on Superstars TW as a holy shit moment. Y'all missed it, but they show Mr. Perfect winning with the Perfect Plex, and maybe in 1989 we have a perfect year as the Perfect champion. Do you think that works? I understand the Hogan situation, but do you think in 1989, if he wins the belts, I'm trying to give Macho Man his nice 6, maybe 8-month run, but this would be a real pivot to get to make Mr. Perfect even one of the top stars by the time we get to WrestleMania 5. We already changing the course. The mega powers ain't exploding. Mr. Perfect comes in, and Vince McMahon really gambles on Perfect being the champion going into WrestleMania 5. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm sorry. I'm just trying something new, something different, and something fresh. What say you, TW?
It would have been great, and you wouldn't have done anything to Hogan and Savage other than got the world title out of there. Because they weren't even really feuding over the world title. They were feuding over Elizabeth. So you still could have that. And you could also throw in Hogan distracting me is the reason I didn't get my belt back from Perfect. You could give him Savage a bunch of reasons to be mad at Hogan. Besides Elizabeth, he could blame him. You weren't there for me when I got beat by Perfect. You weren't there for me when I was trying to get my rematch. But I think the best thing to do, it would have been great for people with the memory from '86, is Perfect beating Savage, and even do it at the Boston Garden the same way Savage beat Tito. Fucking roll the coins to the head and then fall in, have Savage kick out. That's the swerve because he won that way, but then he didn't lose that way. And as soon as he gets up, Perfect Plex. And it was just the 1-2 punch did him in.
You know what? I agree with everything you're saying. I'm strong Jane to everything you said. The only thing I'm going to disagree with you because I'm biased and I'm going to be a homer for it is got to be Madison Square Garden.
Right.
The world's most famous arena has got to get your karma scenario. I love it.
I agree. Boston Gardens IC, Madison Square Gardens World.
Yeah, because the karma, like you said, But it's the responsibility of Gorilla Monsoon. Well, no, I think it would be the responsibility of Jesse the Body Ventura to even acknowledge that karma. And it's funny for Savage to lose the title the way he won the IC title from Chico Santana, the same way that Mr. Perfect wins the World Heavyweight title.
From Nick Bockwinkel. He beat Nick Bockwinkel with the roll of coins.
That too, yeah. So it works both ways, in our humble opinions, Reflection.
And if they acknowledge he was world champion, they could say, that's exactly how he won the AWA world title, this cheating motherfucker. They could have done it.
And it's funny because Nick Bockwinkel was doing commentary in those years in the WWF.
I've been on the receiving end of that punch.
Yeah, there you go. So, TW, let me just ask you this question before we kind of shift to another scenario here. My question for you, if we agree, well, I agree with the Madison Square Garden karmatic changing of the guards, if you will. Who would be a great opponent for Mr. Perfect to take that title into WrestleMania 5? Since you already said Hogan and Savage can explode without the belt, don't need the belt. They're already trying to handle that business. Who would be a great opponent for Mr. Perfect to showcase how perfect of a champion he is?
Just to go over.
Just to go over, yeah.
Where's my man? I'm going to put my man up here. I just got to find him. There he is. We just talked about him, and now we're going to put him in there. There he is.
Chico Santana?
Yep.
I don't know. Wait, hold on. I think that's almost a level off. I don't know.
Well, he's only been champion for a couple bets. You got to get a feeder guy. Tito.
I'm actually surprised you wouldn't have tried to in 1989 say maybe it's the Warrior. I'm surprised.
I don't want the Warrior losing.
Oh my goodness! I'm surprised you didn't say maybe Duggan or some shit like that.
Nah, Duggan in the world. God bless Duggan. He's not a world champion.
Or I'm surprised you wouldn't even say maybe $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. He was shitted on in 1988. Well, he feels he was he got cheated out of getting his legacy or his history. Maybe or Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm just surprised of the names that were available.
Jake would be all right. Yeah. Maybe even Piper.
All right. Yeah, I'm just saying. But you said Chico said
because I don't agree. There's a lot of guys that could have been.
Right. We could. The only thing I kind of disagree with Chico. If it was 1985, 1986, Chico, you're right on the money. But
you know what? I'm treating it like there's another world title, so that wouldn't be a good main event. Tito versus Perfect for a headline spot. It would almost have to be Savage, the rematch.
Well, I guess so. I'm just saying. I'm just giving that. Well, that meant that Savage would have to continue his babyface run, and maybe you would kind of push that Mega Powers exploding. Maybe it's SummerSlam. Who knows? Reflection.
You can make Hogan be the reason he loses this year, because Hogan gets in there to hit Perfect with the chair and gets caught. Savage is protected. Perfect wins, doesn't lose the belt, and then Savage gets mad at Hogan for costing him, and then Hogan can say, "Well, you weren't mad last year when it worked."
Wow. Oh my. See, I love this. I love this reflection. Karma is a bitch. And Mr. Perfect is involved in two scenarios, and Savage is involved in two scenarios with it. So what worked for Savage previously doesn't work for Savage again. But you got to tell that story, and it works here. This is why What Ifs are the most popular series, TW, because we make the stories make sense. That's what we love.
I'm going to reach out to Shawn Michaels, and I'm going to set up Sal Ruka and the other girl, Maxine, whatever the hell her name is.
Zariah.
Have them do it where Zariah hits the fucking JC Jane with a chair and helps Saul win, and then Saul loses because she goes to hit someone with the chair but hits Saul. Did she do it on purpose? Did she not do it on purpose? And Saul loses her belt.
Well, you know what, TW? Shawn Michaels is a reflection night, so it works both ways. He probably already knows this. And now, take notes, HBK, because we won't make you Booker of the Year. So, TW, the floor is yours. I'm going to give you probably the prime. Well, I think you'll think of a better scenario on the third one. But the second one I want to do is focus on the Heenan family run. Because, again, so close. Bobby Heenan never managed the World Heavyweight Champion, if you will. Not in that Heenan family bubble. The closest
he never beat Hogan.
Right. The closest he came was Andre the Giant and WrestleMania 3. We all thought it was going to happen and all this shit. He had the belt made primed and ready for Andre the Giant to win the belt and beat Hogan, but Hogan overcame the odds and all that stuff. So let's create that scenario where he's a Heenan family member and he becomes the heavyweight champion. Who's the best guy to beat? Do you beat Hogan in that situation? So this way, Bobby Heenan can actually celebrate after all the years of torment, all the years of the frustration and all that stuff, that he finally, Heenan, overcomes his demons against Hogan, and Perfect gets his legacy started, supplanted, if you will, as the heavyweight champion. What say you?
Nope. Here's why.
Oh, okay.
I say Perfect wins it from Savage. Hogan is kind of like, you didn't beat me, Heenan. So Heenan still, yeah. And then you set up for Perfect versus, that's another way. Savage won it from Hogan hitting DiBiase with the chair.
Mm-hmm.
You set up, you build up to Hogan versus Perfect, and Heenan's scared because he's never beat Hogan. Hogan's going to win the belt back. And then Savage gets in here with the chair and cause Hogan to lose instead of win.
In 1990?
No, the same scenario. When you're waiting, you're not giving him the belt right away. You're waiting until 90.
No, I'm waiting. I'm just giving him. In my scenario would be like, well, you know what? This is your scenario. I'm just saying mine would be, I'm just using what the timeline that
I
Mr.
just think
Perfect
that
is.
if you keep Hogan in the back pocket, Perfect wins it from someone else. You
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about Hogan, especially Hogan leaves and comes back in 89, 90, right? Then they do no holds barred and then comes back, or was that 87?
That was 88.
So Hogan's gone. Perfect wins the belt from somebody. Heenan's happy. He's finally got a world champion. Maybe Jesse or Gorilla or somebody throws in shots like, yeah, but you never could get it from Hogan, blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden, Perfect's talking shit. Who's his opponent? Or who's going to challenge me to become the next champion? And Hogan comes out, and Heenan just shits his pants like, fuck, it's the guy I've never beat. And then you could have Perfect beat him, and then just fucking send WCW Hogan earlier. But otherwise, you have Savage do the thing, and now you got Savage and Hogan feuding again. Kind of like Punk and Drew, where one of them swore to the other one, you'll never be world champion while I'm around, and they're both world champions right now. So one of them was a liar.
But then you're actually concentrating Hogan and Savage a lot more. And Mr. Perfect is overshadowed, in my humble opinion. That's all I'm just saying.
Or Perfect just beats him straight up and then send Hogan packing.
Okay. I'm just saying, but let's focus on the Heenan family years. Let's focus on that. 90, 91. Again, in our scenario, TW, in our perfect world, even when he came in guns blazing, he was the Intercontinental Champion. So he already cemented that shit. It's already done. That was a stepping stool before he gets to what he wants. So in 90 and 91, you already know that the champion is Hogan. You know the champion is Ultimate Warrior. So I'm just saying, I think I could see a scenario where, Rick Rude gave Ultimate Warrior one of his best matches in his WWF career. Who could also give Ultimate Warrior one of his best matches in his WWE career? Who could take the best bumps from the Ultimate Warrior?
I think they worked each other too, and then they did take good bumps.
Right. So I think my scenario is after the Ultimate Challenge, I think you build up again. I think it was a throwaway with the Rick Rude thing. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. I think this would have been a perfect opportunity. You take Rick Rude by the wayside, no disrespect to him, God rest his soul, but you implant Mr. Perfect. I think that scenario would have worked. Not at WrestleMania, but again, you could have worked SummerSlam, you could have worked Survivor Series, and maybe we wouldn't have to have that bullshit with Sergeant Slaughter being Ultimate Warrior. It could have been Mr. Perfect, Royal Rumble 91, in my humble opinion, Reflectionites. I think it was a wasted moment. I understood Vince McMahon trying to do you all right, TW?
Yeah, they're trying to do.
Damon told you stop spinning.
You told me just don't do it while I'm talking. I haven't done it yet.
Well, you have. Don't choke on yourself. God damn it. It's like, don't do a Diddy choke. But anyway, neither here nor there. But I think we would have had the debacle of Sergeant Slaughter and the debacle of the Desert Storm thinking of Vince McMahon could have been cast aside with a regular wrestling storyline, with a regular wrestling feud, if it was Perfect against Warrior and Perfect winning the belt at Royal Rumble, and maybe even you had a rematch built in there for Warrior and Perfect. What say you, TW, about that scenario, or do you have a different way of doing this?
Dude, not only that, but you could still do everything the same way. You have Savage cost him. Savage is now feuding with Warrior. Perfect goes on to defend the belt against somebody else. Could be Hogan, could be whatever. What I think, and I think they kind of tested the waters with it. Perfect was IC champ, lost it to Kerry. Boom, wins it again. Takes it back from Kerry. I think Perfect could have been that Ric Flair for the WWF, where he's champ, loses it, champ, loses it, champ, loses it. It would have been great. It would have been great heat. It would have fucking cemented Bobby Heenan. It would have cemented Perfect. It would have made guys who won the belt from him and then lost it back. Like, let's be honest, man. I grew up, and no disrespect to him now, but I grew up and you hear Tommy Rich was an NWA world champion, and you hear
for 3 days.
Right. And if he doesn't win that belt, we don't talk about Tommy Rich at all. Right. So whatever Tommy Rich did in the business after that, whether it's the ECW stuff or UWF or wherever the fuck he went, all of it was made possible because he for 3 days was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And Perfect could have done that for guys like Davey Boy or fucking Tito or, just guys that could win the belt. Fucking Ronnie Garvin. We wouldn't talk about that dude if he wasn't world champion for a month, right? These guys, that belt made them. And guys like Scott Hall said something in a shoot interview I just watched recently. He said he did not want to leave WWE. He gave Vince the chance to match the money. He told Vince, it's not just the money. I can't do your 360-day sketch. I can't do it. And Vince was like, well, then you got to go. And he left, but he didn't want to go. But he goes, he doesn't understand what Vince was thinking because he was over and he was a babyface that could do jobs and still be over. A lot of guys, they lose one time, the fans dip out on them, right? They're gone. Back then. Now, CM Punk lost the belt in 5 seconds, just like he cost the other guy his belt. And was he beat Gunther and then Drew cashed in? Is that what it was?
What do you mean?
No.
You mean CM Punk?
Seth cashed in.
Yes.
But that's long-term choice. If they did a scenario where Drew got the belt back by cashing in on Punk the same way he got Damian Priest to cash in on him, it would have been just joyous. But this stuff here back then, Perfect as a guy who won the title and lost it and won it back and won it and lost it. Like, you got to do it like fucking hot potato. But, once or twice a year, you just make somebody. And then you don't have the problem of always having to fucking revert back to Hogan because you feel like Savage wasn't drawn or Warrior wasn't drawn. The business wasn't drawn. It wasn't them. It just wasn't. It was a downtime in the business.
So let me just say this before I do another scenario, because I'm going to put him in the babyface role, which I think you'll know where I'm going with that one. But you see Mr. Perfect in WWF basically being Vince McMahon's Ric Flair. No matter the situation, no matter the circumstances, probably in your humble opinion, from maybe 88 to, I say before he got really hurt, 88 to 93, if he was, or I'm going to use 94, that 6-year run, he would probably have been a champion 4 times in TW's Ultimate Booking, a 4-time champion.
At least, yeah.
Damn, you got 4 rings right there from 88 to 94 Reflection Nights. So with that being said, I got another scenario, and then I will close it with TW just trying to give his perfect booking in perfect situation that I'm not going to be involved with. I'm just going to hear what TW has to say. So TW, you're thinking about this because you will take it home. But my third scenario, Reflection Nights, I'm going to use the Ric Flair storyline. TW, Ric Flair wins the belt. Royal Rumble. Remember, we're not changing nothing,
right?
But I want to plant the seeds of the disrespect that Ric Flair might have against Mr. Perfect. Those little pot shots. He doesn't say it, but you have to really, if you're a hardcore fan, Reflection Nights, you got to catch it. You got to catch the little disrespect, the little nuances like that. Like, nobody could beat Ric Flair. I'm the best champion. I'm the best wrestler. And you probably, and Ric Flair, Reflectionites, might even utter that word perfect. And then you have to, and Kevin Dunn, that beaver motherfucker, would pan that camera on Mr. Perfect, watching his face light up like, what? You're the perfect champion? So you start that seed of, I don't want to call it seeds of envy, but Mr. Perfect has got to test Ric Flair. He's got to test himself. He's got to say, Ric Flair, you're not the perfect champion. You're not the best champion. It's already written. And I think from that 92, and you build it to WrestleMania 9, where Mr. Perfect gets the glory and gets the prestige and probably gets the respect of the WWE Universe, TW, where he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world. I save it for WrestleMania 9. The story is told from Royal Rumble 92, and maybe you extend Ric Flair's contract into WrestleMania so this way he can do the honor the right way. It doesn't have to be a loser leaves town match, but once Mr. Perfect gets the biggest victory of his life on the WWE stage at WrestleMania in Las Vegas, you can write off Ric Flair, and Ric Flair goes to Atlanta, whatever the case may be, but Mr. Perfect can then celebrate.
You can keep everything the same. You can keep everything the same. But right. you do 92, and you have little things thrown at him. Obviously, you wouldn't know that you're going to have Perfect replace Warrior because of that scenario. But you could also have booked it so far events that you were going to end up around Survivor Series having Perfect go, listen here, motherfucker. But what I think Flair says, and I think he has to be champion for a while to do it, is didn't Flair lose it to Macho Man? Then he won it back?
He lost it to Macho at WrestleMania 8.
And then won it back, right? So after he wins it back from Macho Man, he can be like, I'm the best ever. Like, I should have came here sooner. I'm mowing through everybody. I'm the best. Nobody can beat me. Mr. Perfect can't beat me. Even in his prime, he couldn't beat me. And Perfect like, what? But you say that to be the cow or the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, you say stuff like, no one can beat me. I'm the best ever. There's not a former world champion alive that could beat me. There's not a current world champion, whatever. There's not a first, second, or third generation wrestler that could beat me. Blah, 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 blah. And then finally the straw that breaks the camel's back is when he's just dancing and hooting and hollering, getting ready for WrestleMania or Survivor Series, or right after Survivor Series, whatever the case, if Warrior doesn't leave. You have him say, nobody can beat me. Like Mr. Perfect in his prime, you couldn't beat me. And then just dismisses it. Don't say anything. And then Perfect be like, listen here, motherfucker. And then Perfect waits, because that's the cool Kurt. He waits till a match. And then when Flair needs him to do something, because that's what you do also along the way, is Perfect is sliding him foreign objects. He's tripping him. He's helping him. And then he doesn't.
While you're saying all that stuff, let me add this little nuance here. Royal Rumble 93. Because of everything you said, I just thought of this. Royal Rumble 93. Follow me here, TW. There's a mystery spot. 29 wrestlers have put in the thing, and I would use Ric Flair as a commentator. Just to be there, like, who's gonna face me and all that stuff. Just to say, because again, the winner gets the shot at Ric Flair. And Ric Flair has to be on commentary. And he doesn't know. You can even, because Heenan would be there, Gorilla would be there, and Ric Flair would be like laughing at, you got 30 athletes, and then Gorilla keeps reminding him, like, we don't know this mystery spot. And I don't care what number it is, but everybody's
30.
coming.
You make it 30. The perfect number.
The perfect number. Okay, well, we do the perfect number. Number 30. We already know the 29 guys, and Ric Flair's like, who is this mystery opponent? Now I find out who this mystery opponent jabroni is, and then you hear, well, you could use Mr. Perfect's theme song to get a massive pop, and Mr. Perfect wins the Royal Rumble 1993 and gets his shot. And like you said,
taking that win from Hogan if he does that?
He's taking that win from Yokozuna.
Oh, I'm all right with it. I'm here for it.
We changing the course, Reflectionites. I take Yokozuna out, and I influx Mr. Perfect in. He becomes a real live babyface here, because again, he does not like all the shit that TW has said, and now you build that little nuanced program with now a new show coming.
And then
around
with Flair, that's what he does instead of turning. And Flair goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm here to show you that I can beat you, and I don't even have to be in my prime."
There you go. And then you build up. Now you got a new show, TW, Monday Night Raw. It starts in 93. So now you can build those promos and all that stuff. Maybe they don't even have to touch you.
And then Flair says, I'm so confident I can beat you. You're broken. You're battered. You shouldn't even have came out of retirement. I'm so confident I can beat you that I will put my title and my career on the line against you because that's how much I know I'm going to beat you. And then he loses and goes back to WCW.
You could do it that way. So I think it works. I think the third scenario really works for both of us. I think the situation, the story is told, the nuances, the facial expressions of Mr. Perfect. Like, this motherfucker is saying, I'm not perfect. This motherfucker is saying,
accolades to Kurt Hennig, and I'm here for it. You give him a Royal Rumble on his resume. You give him a world title run. I actually think he gets a few world title reigns. And I'm in.
Well, with that being said, TW, let's close it out because I've given out 3 scenarios and you've helped me. You've piggybacked off it in certain ways and you've updated it with your scenarios. But you said something, so maybe you want to expound on it. You said that Mr. Perfect, in your eyes, could have maybe a 4-term run. He could have had a 4-time run. He could have been a 4, maybe 5-time champion in your eyes. I'm not saying book it. I'm just saying, what is TW's perfect scenario?
I would have him do that by winning the belt against Macho Man, by doing all the stuff I said. Maybe losing it back to Macho Man, winning it back, hot potato. Then losing it to, like I said, like Tito, or it's just boosting a Steamboat. Shit, lose it to Steamboat. And just giving guys their flowers who never got them because Hogan bogarted that belt, right? Because if you have a heel champion losing the belt, you're not hurting his draw. But especially if he wins it back, they're like, fuck, he won it back. Who the fuck? Someone take it and keep it. Something like that, right? Then Perfect loses it. He's had 3 or 4 runs with it. He's hurt. He's retired. He's with Macho Man or with Savage. What the fuck? He's with Flair. And this brings him out, and he finally wins one with the fans behind him. And then he says, you know what? I've not been the nicest guy to the fans for all these years, and I've won this title 3, 4 other times, and I can promise you this one feels the best because it feels the best because of the reaction I got from you guys. And then he's cemented as a babyface after that.
Which way is he cemented as a babyface? I just want to make sure.
Well, you did. You pulled a me. You weren't listening. I said
no.
When he comes out and he beats Flair, he's finally doing it as a babyface.
No, that's what I'm. That's where you want to say cemented as well. Again,
no. And then he does a promo the next night on Raw where he goes, "Listen, I ain't been the nicest guy to the fans over the years, but the truth is, I know what I'm talking about when I say this. I've had this belt before. I've had it 2, 3, 4 times, whatever we have him at." He goes, and it was great, but nothing felt greater than this. Because when the 3 count was made and I won, you guys cheered. And that's something I've never felt before. And it makes it that much better. And then they're going to love him for the rest of their life. Because he's giving them credence for being there.
Right.
I tell young wrestlers all the time, if you don't acknowledge the crowd, they're going to wonder why the fuck they're there. They could have watched it at home on TV. But they're there. So give them a reason to feel like it matters that they're there. Either by healing on them or baby facing them.
Okay, now I'm going to pull a wild card, and this has nothing to do with booking because of everything you said that you see Mr. Perfect being a 4-time champion. I'm just going to name out some names.
Right.
And in TW's humble opinion, this should have happened. This kind of title change should have happened. Chico Santana.
Yep.
He could have beat Perfect for the title.
Especially if it's one of the earlier runs, like 88, 89, because by then Tito had been a 2-time IC champion and a champion with Rick Martel. Hopefully it spares him from getting dressed like a fucking pink and green El Matador. But what are you going to do? If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, you give it to him while he's still Tito Santana. And I think the audience, especially back then, man, the more we watch old shit, man, and I was listening to shit, man. I think it was AJ Styles talking to Stephanie, and he was talking about the audience. Oh no, it was Cody and Finn, and they were talking about the audiences back in the 80s when they believed. Like the response you get when people believe, like hark back on Ronnie Garvin. Ronnie Garvin won the world title the first time the NWA ever did a Detroit show, and the place went banana. Because they were just happy to see Flair lose. They didn't give a shit that it was Ronnie Garvin, right? So when you're wrestling somewhere and the fans are believing it, if they're all in, that's why the death of kayfabe sucks, man. Because and I'll say this a million times, I've said it to you on here. All the people that can criticize the way they run WWE now, or the way they run AEW, as much as I shit on them, they know who's watching. It's neckbeards who live with their grandma, who jerk off without realizing there's still Cheeto dust on their fingers from eating the Cheetos and watching Brokeback Mountain right before wrestling. And
but they're happy with the product that they're watching.
Happy with the product. It's not growing it, but it's keeping it to where it's getting paid to be on TV, right? WWE, people don't realize, everyone's bitching all these PG. They're not booking for you anymore. They're booking for the kid who's begging his dad to take him to the show and get him the foam finger. So those kids, that's why John Cena is John Cena. Because the little kids who still believe were loudest of anybody in there, even the booers, right? The pops for John Cena. And then those kids grew up and stayed with him like we did Hogan, like we did Warrior, like you did Shane Douglas or whatever. By the time we realized it was a work, we didn't care. We already loved our guys, so we kept cheering for him, right? And so now you and me, I had a nice little run with NXT Black and Gold. I love Ethan Page now, but wrestling is back to being something I critique when I watch it. I enjoy it. I watch it to be, but I was thinking about it the other day. I don't think I've watched Raw, SmackDown, or whatever since before the build-up to Cena's last match. I think that. And I was out of town when the Saturday Night's Main Event happened.
Lots of people do not watch it religiously.
But I'm saying little kids do. Little kids are watching it every week, so they're booking it for those little kids. AEW's booking it for those big kids who never grow up. And TNA is booking for whatever. I got a question for it since TNA. How the hell weren't the Iconics or whatever they're called, the Inspiration, weren't they tag team champions there? And now they're in AEW?
Yeah, they lost those titles and now they're in AEW. So
it's weird timing, eh? Chick's husband's in WWE and then she goes there.
Hey, a paycheck's a paycheck, like you said.
Yeah, hey, man. Good for them.
So let's go back to the scenarios of your 4-time or maybe 5-time. So Chico could get a run like a Tommy Rich if
Chico or Steamboat. One of those two. It can't be both.
Steamboat, okay, it's 2. Jake the Snake.
No.
You can't beat Perfect.
I think one of Jake's endearing things about him is that he never had any belt. He might have had some shit in Mid-South, but he never had that Intercontinental. He never had the tag. He didn't need it. Piper didn't need it. He didn't need it.
Piper doesn't need it. Okay, so that's 4 names, Reflection, as I'm thinking. Duggan.
No.
Duggan can't beat Perfect. Okay. Let me think of one more around that time.
Wasn't Hercules a babyface? Former
I ain't even saying that. That name doesn't even.
No, but he can be a guy that gets beat by Perfect.
Okay, he can get a shot. Yeah, he can get a shot at the title. Davey Boy Smith.
Absolutely.
Beat him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Davey Boy Smith's on my damn list of people that should have been a world champion.
Okay.
He got in his own way. Like Razor Ramon could have beat him for one.
You know what we both didn't talk about? And we could close out. So I don't want to go name by name because the roster, and maybe even Big Ray can remind us of the names we might have forgot. And no, I'm not forgetting Junkyard Dog Ray, but again, I don't think that would have worked. That would have been his last legs in '88, so it wouldn't have worked anyway. We didn't even talk about Bret Hart.
Oh, just like you said. I did talk about Bret Hart.
No.
He would have beat Bret Hart for it after Bret beat Flair.
What year?
92.
You want 92?
If you didn't win it from Savage in 88, 89, he's
no, because everything
92.
you said about the gunning, I'm gunning for him like in the 89 when he was doing that shit. So the question is he the champion and Bret's chasing him? So this way he gets props?
That goes without saying because Bret lost the IC title to Perfect. So when Bret becomes world champion, just like when Warrior became world champion, he defended against Rude, who beat him for the IC title. That's inevitable, Bret versus Perfect. It's not going to happen.
Okay, so
And it's going to lead to Brett versus Bulldog and Brett versus Sean and Brett versus Owen. I mean, Kurt versus Sean, Kurt versus Bulldog, Kurt versus Owen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all dies when he has to fight Yokozuna. And then we're all bored to death.
You know what I realized, TW? That damn that damn backiotomy that he has to, suffer with and all that stuff. All the
you
creative
could even end
juices.
up Brett, or sorry, you call him Brett, Kurt and Luger could end up fighting for that world title.
Yeah, they did have a program in WWF in '93. So with all that shit, so if it wasn't for that backiotomy that Mr. Perfect had,
and Perfect was babyface, right?
Yeah, he was. A lot of creative things could have happened in Mr. Perfect's land, if you will, Reflection. So with that being said, TW, any closing thoughts of, what could have been your Mount Rushmore of world champions that should have been? Of course, Mr. Perfect is on top. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon's on top.
Mr. Perfect was a world champion, motherfucker.
No, WWF. I'm talking about the WWF champion.
I don't care about that. I count the NWA. I count the AWA as world titles. If you won one of those three, that's good enough for me. I think that AWA world title is the reason we got Mr. Perfect, because he wouldn't have been shit. He would have been just a mid-carder if he didn't win that world title in AWA.
But sometimes you just don't credit a lot of other titles when you always talk about the WWF. But anyway, neither here nor there.
Listen, we grew up in the same. I'm a little bit older than you, but we grew up reading the same magazines, and the world titles were always recognized as the WWF, the AWA, and the fucking NWA. They didn't call World Class a world title. They didn't call ECW a world title. They did call it a world title, but they called it that because ECW called it that. But the UWF was not a world title. TNA, I struggle with calling that a world title, but I might have 2 years from now when LA Knight never wins one, and I got to credit it back to that one. But
okay, again, you have your parameters. That's all I'm saying.
I would say TNA today, I wouldn't call a world title, but because if today was the only version of it, but because of the 20 years now of TNA. And because guys like Sting and Hogan and AJ had it, I call it a world title. But I think it's watered down now. And I would say it's, like soccer, where you get beat enough by the big leagues, you get fucking bounced down to the minor league. That's what that TNA world title is right now. And hopefully it grows.
TNA is the MLS of sports. But anyway, with that being said, we close on this What If edition on the PWR podcast here at the HAMIN Media Group at podbeam.com. And what we're going to do next week, Reflection Nights, well, Big Ray, you say that I don't listen to you. I don't take your suggestions. I put them in the back burner. Well, Ray, this one is for you. We're going to do a spotlight on a show that he wants to create. TW, you already know this because this was already in the DMs. We are going to do a spotlight or a new show, if you will, Reflection Nights, the year in wrestling. And we're going to talk about 1987. TW, WrestleMania 3, Starrcade 87. We're going to talk about that Ronnie Garvin Detroit title winning more in grand detail. So with that being said, Ray, you thought I didn't listen? You thought I don't take requests?
That was his idea?
That was his idea, yes.
I thought you wrote that.
No, I just updated it, if you will. But he started it. He suggested it. So we're going to do a new show. We're going to try out a new show, Reflection Nights, The Year in Professional Wrestling. PWR presents The Year in Wrestling 1987. TW, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know how I'm going to flow the show.
I know immediately what I'm talking about.
Okay, so TW is going to lead. I'm going to follow. So with that being said, TW, give out those socials so we can finally get out of here.
All righty. The Pro Wrestling Coalition Network sponsors us at PWC Network at podbean.com, where you can also find HAMIN Media Group at podbean.com. Our show on X is at PW Reflection. Big Ray can be found all over the internet on every single social media platform. Man, I don't know if he's in the blue skies like Professor is, but you can find him at Big Ray Hernandez. Every Wednesday, he does the Next Level podcast on YouTube, where he recaps the night before's NXT. And every Tuesday, he does a Raw recap of the previous night's Monday Night Raw. You can find me on X and Instagram at TommyWonder19, Snapchat #Wonder, Facebook.com/TommyWonder, at the Tommy Wonder on TikTok. And then you can find, and my other X. And then you can find Big Vito and Noel at Big Vito Brand on TikTok. And I don't know if you paid attention to it, and I don't know if Ray finally did, but I was so stoked to see that not only is Big Vito getting 2 figures, he's getting a Big Vito figure, and he's getting Tony Mamaluke, or what was this other gimmick?
Oh, he's had a couple of gimmicks, but it's been the Vito gimmick since
Right, but what was the
WCW
other
days.
gimmick he had before?
Oh, Skull Von Crush.
That one. Skull Von Crush, and he's getting a figure of both of those. And Bill Apter is getting an action figure, and I thought Big Ray would be ecstatic about that, but he completely no-sold me on that.
You got to put it on your mantle. Get a Bill Apter.
Oh, I'm getting a Bill Apter for sure, man.
Okay.
Well, I wish I'd have got the Sean Mooney Big Rubber guys from Major Pod. I saw one yesterday on their review of the toy fair they're at, and did I ever show you this? Oh, man, did I lose it? Oh no. Oh no, I might have lost.
Well, while TW is trying to find something, you can follow me on my Twitter at PWLSOPRF. That's PWLSOPROF. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel. We got 158 subscribers. Maybe after this episode, TW, you might get 165 subscribers. So follow me at youtube.com/@ProWrestlingReflection. Follow me on the Blue Sky at pwsoprf.bsky.social. And with that being said, TW can't find the action figure. We're going to close it out. I'm the perfect professor, and that's Mr. Wonderful, the solo idiot, and the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world. Good. Tommy Wonder. It's over, TW. You can't find it.
I gotta bring it out next week then, because I'm telling you, it's so awesome. I know I don't have it in here. I know I didn't bring it on the show, because I would have broke that thing out and showed everyone it. It's one of my favorite figures I've ever gotten, and I can't believe you gotta quit going out of town, and I gotta quit going out of town.
There you go. We'll see you next week, and hopefully TW will have that action figure next week here at the PWR podcast at the HAMIN Media Group at podbean.com.
And that's perfect.